Welcome, dear friends, to this journey through time as we dive into the life of one of history's most fascinating characters. We are about to explore the enigmatic, controversial, and somewhat whimsical world of Diogenes of Sinope, the man Plato famously described as Socrates gone mad. Not only was Diogenes a significant figure in the philosophical world, but he was also a unique character who defied societal norms and held firm to his beliefs no matter how outrageous or controversial they may have seemed. Born in the city of Sinope in ancient Anatolia around 412 or 404 BC, Diogenes' life took an intriguing turn early on. His father, Hicesias, was a banker who got embroiled in a scandal concerning defacing currency. Whether Diogenes was involved in the scandal or not remains a matter of debate. Regardless, this event seems to have had a profound influence on Diogenes' later life, giving him a deep-seated distaste for society and its conventions, particularly its obsession with wealth and power. Following this controversy, Diogenes relocated to Athens, the heart of philosophical thought in ancient Greece. He came to Athens with little more than the clothes on his back, embracing an ascetic lifestyle that would come to define his philosophical stance, commonly known as Cynicism. The Cynics, with Diogenes being the most famous among them, believed in rejecting all conventional desires for wealth, power, health, and fame to lead a life of virtue in agreement with nature. When Diogenes arrived in Athens, he had nothing, not even a home. Instead, he chose to make a discarded ceramic jar, or pithos, his dwelling. This was not just an indication of poverty, but a defiant statement against the societal norms of his time. He lived in the jar, slept in the jar, and essentially carried out his life in the public eye, making him a hard-to-ignore presence in the Athenian agora, the central public space in the city. From his pithos, Diogenes would preach his philosophy of asceticism and self-sufficiency, questioning societal norms and urging people to live according to nature. His teachings had a distinctively practical approach with a strong emphasis on action over theory. For Diogenes, wisdom and virtue were not just intellectual concepts, but a way of life. This disregard for societal norms and traditions often got Diogenes into rather comical situations. There are many stories that speak volumes about his eccentricities. In one tale, Diogenes was spotted around Athens in broad daylight with a lit lantern. When asked why he was carrying a lantern in the daytime, he replied that he was looking for an honest man but was struggling to find one. Diogenes was not merely content with living his philosophy. He was also known for his biting wit and his knack for rhetorical combat. His encounters with Plato are legendary. In one such encounter, Plato had defined a human as a featherless biped. In response, Diogenes brought a plucked chicken to Plato's academy and declared, "Behold, I've brought you a man," leading to a revision of Plato's definition. Plato and Diogenes were philosophical adversaries. They had fundamental disagreements about life and how it should be lived. Plato was an idealist who believed in abstract forms, while Diogenes was a practical philosopher who believed in living in accord with nature. Yet, despite their disagreements, Plato's remark that Diogenes was Socrates gone mad was not an insult, but a testament to the latter's commitment to his philosophical stance. It was not only Plato who had interesting encounters with Diogenes. Even Alexander the Great was not immune to the eccentric philosopher's wit. As the story goes, Alexander sought out Diogenes, who was relaxing in the sunlight. Alexander, thrilled to meet the famous philosopher, asked if there was any favor he might do for him. Diogenes replied, "Yes, stand out of my sunlight." This response speaks volumes about Diogenes' indifference to power and wealth. Here was the most powerful man in the world offering him a favor, and all Diogenes wanted to do was enjoy the sunlight. Diogenes' life, as peculiar and controversial as it may seem, is an extraordinary testament to the power of individual conviction. Despite living on the fringes of society, in a jar, with no material possessions, he was a man of great influence. His philosophy of cynicism left a lasting impact on the world of philosophy, inspiring later schools of thought, most notably Stoicism. In a world consumed by the pursuit of wealth, power, and pleasure, Diogenes was a beacon of simplicity and contentment. He taught that happiness did not lie in material possessions, but in living a life of virtue and in accord with nature. He believed that the path to happiness was to free oneself from artificial needs and desires. As we reflect on Diogenes' life and philosophy, we find a radical invitation to question societal norms and conventions. He challenged the status quo and urged us to critically examine our lives, our values, and our pursuits. His life serves as a poignant reminder of the power of simplicity and the value of living a life true to one's beliefs. The story of Diogenes, the crazy philosopher who lived in a jar and defied one of the most powerful men in history, is not just a tale of an eccentric character from ancient times. It is a powerful narrative about human nature, society, and our place in the world as we navigate through our lives in a world that often places undue emphasis on material wealth and societal status. Perhaps we could use a bit of Diogenean madness to help us stay true to ourselves and our values. We will never know for sure whether Diogenes was truly Socrates gone mad, as Plato claimed, but one thing is clear. He was a man who dared to live by his convictions, no matter how unconventional or outrageous they seemed, and in doing so, he left an indelible mark on the annals of philosophy and the annals of human history. Perhaps we can find in the tale of this mad philosopher a bit of wisdom and a lot of courage to live life on our terms, just as Diogenes did all those years ago.